You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the show, folks. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for being here once again. Hey, the Chris Voss Show, the family that loves you but doesn't judge you. The best kind of family there is. You can get it on shirts coming this winter. I don't know. We're not doing shirts this winter. I don't know what the hell we're doing this winter. We're going to stay warm, and you can stay warm too by referring the show to your family, friends, and relatives at Chris Voss. I don't know, any of the Chris Voss Show channels. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn, the big LinkedIn group, Chris Voss Leadership Institute.com, and all that good stuff. Stay tuned. We got some amazing CEO interviews on leadership too coming up as well. Today we have another amazing author on the show. She's got a new book that's coming out August 30th, 2022. You can pick it up and pre-order it for your book club. Be the first one to read it. And I find it most interesting because I've always been interested in their culture, their caste society, and everything else. I'm always interested in learning new things. So that's why I have the show, is so I can learn some stuff. This is how I learn, people. I skipped college. So she's the author of the new book, The Newlyweds, Rearranging Marriage in Modern India. It comes out August 30th, 2022. Mansi Choksi is on the show with us today. She's going to be talking to us about her amazing book, what went into it, all the research she did, and you're probably going to learn some interesting things about stuff and how the world is changing. You know, it's changing everywhere around the world, you know, modernism and traditionalism and everything else. She is a graduate of the Columbia School of Journalism and two-time Livingston Award finalist. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, the New Yorker, National Geographic, Harper's Magazine, The Atlantic, and more. She lives in Dubai with her husband and son. The Newlyweds is her first book. Welcome to the show, and congratulations on your first book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
There you go. And give us your .coms or wherever you have on the interwebs you want people to find you.
Yeah, so my website is mansichokshi.com. That's MANSICHOKSI.com. Twitter is Mansi_Choksi. Instagram is Mansi_Choksi. LinkedIn is Mansi Choksi. And Facebook is Mansi Choksi.
There you go. So what motivated you want to write this as your first book?
Yeah, so I grew up in India. I grew up in Mumbai. And one of the things that I constantly thought about is how so many young people how the society does not implode from so many young people pushing against what we want and what we can have. India has one of the world's largest young populations, yet we have, we're expected to adhere to centuries-old traditions, especially with love and marriage. Love is essentially taboo, and marriage is seen as a sort of arrangement between two families that belong to the same, in the same sort of like hierarchy of caste, class, region, language. Marriage is just seen as an extension of two families, essentially. So there's a lot of pressure placed on who you can choose to marry. And I wanted to really tell the story about what was happening in India right now through the vehicle of the love story. So I wanted to discuss serious forces that are changing modern India. For example, how, the sort of relevance of a millennia-old caste prejudice in society today, our colonial history with homophobic legislation, and, how ancient Indian society, does not have did not have a culture of, ostracizing LGBT or same-sex love. And thirdly, about a Hindu and Muslim couple that finds itself at the center of a political controversy known as love jihad. And I wanted to use that story to highlight a larger sort of theme about, India's lurch to the right. So I wanted to use the vehicle of the love story to discuss the big issues that we're facing in India at the moment, and especially for what's at stake for young people.
Mm-hmm. And India has a lot of different, I believe, languages or sub-languages, don't they?
Yeah.
And then different...
millions.
Wow. And then cultures.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, here in America, we just use the F word everywhere, and that's pretty much our language.
Colonialism brought some of that.
Mm-hmm. So you got that. Well,
Yeah,
that's
we got
even
that too.
great.
Yeah.
We export Americanism to everybody and ruin their country. So yeah, this is kind of interesting. I didn't know about the caste system
Yes.
in India until I read, I think, Israel Wilkerson's book
Hmm.
on
Yeah.
caste, which
Yes.
is incredible,
Yes.
and I learned so much about it. And it
Absolutely.
was, I mean, to me it seems very crazy, but I grew up in the age where I think in England, up until Margaret Thatcher, they had their system too, and it's really curious, and I often thought about that because I've seen Romeo and Juliet the play. I know when you can't hold back love. Is there a song
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
that I'm thinking of? When people love each other. Hi, folks. Chris Voss here with a little station break. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We'll resume here in a second. I'd like to invite you to come to my coaching, speaking, and training courses website. You can also see our new podcast over there at chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Over there, you can find all the different stuff that we do for speaking engagements if you'd like to hire me, training courses that we offer, and coaching for leadership, management, entrepreneurism, podcasting, corporate stuff. With over 35 years of experience in business and running companies as CEO, I think I can offer a wonderful breadth of information and knowledge to you, or anyone that you want to invite me to for your company. Thanks for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you listening to the show, and be sure to check out chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Now back to the show. And it's kind of interesting. You mentioned early on that, love isn't something that, I guess in the traditionalism, India really isn't a thing then, huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, there has always been a history of love in India, but society has always sort of thwarted it. So even our greatest love stories, for instance, Bollywood, which is, essentially like our largest, I would say it's like our national narrative in a sense, because it's just so popular and widespread. They're 80% romantic films. So yeah, I mean, love and the concept of love is, and these forbidden love stories especially are pervasive across India. But the truth is that in real life, the stakes are really high for people who choose to love outside of tradition. And those stakes can look, really dangerous. So one of the couples in the book, their names are Neetu and Davinder. They belong to different castes and they're from the same village. And according to rural customs, men and women of the same village are considered brothers and sisters. So it's a form of incest in their mind. And they also belong to different. So when they run away, their main worry is being targeted for honor killing by their community. They're worried that they will. Wow. Yeah, they will be kidnapped and they will be killed. And that's not a paranoia or like something completely far-fetched, because there are instances that we hear of constantly where couples that run away for or elope together for love outside of these boundaries of caste and religion do often find themselves in the middle of these horrific murder cases. Not far from where Neetu and Davinder grew up, there was another couple who's also mentioned in the book, named Manoj and Bubbly, who sought police protection, got all the court's help to give them the protection to go to a safe place. And eventually, they were kidnapped by the girl's family. The Manoj was sort of like strangled to death. And wow. Bubbly was forced to drink insecticide, and their bodies were just found wrapped in gunny sacks in some village canal. So there are really serious stakes here.
Yeah, that's a worse story than Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you got somebody else making you drink the poison. I'm not going to do that joke. This is really interesting. It's interesting to me that honor killings are still going on. I guess.
Yeah.
Is that legal in India? How does that work?
No. So that's the thing. So honor killings, for the longest time, there was no separate law to deal with honor killings. Mm-hmm. They were clubbed with murders, and unlike say the dowry law, which has tradition at the root of that law. So there's a law for anti-dowry practice. So dowry is the wealth that the bride's family is traditionally expected to hand over to the man who will marry her. And it's a form of a big source of domestic abuse, because the groom's family can keep on harassing the bride and essentially blackmailing her family for more and more money. So there was a special law that was, I'm not sure in which year, but there was a special law that came into effect that did a really good job at tackling that issue. But with honor crimes, for instance, that has not been the case so far because they have always been clubbed with murder. And often we find that, policemen that are investigating honor crimes are also on the side of families or empathize with families that perpetrate these crimes.
Wow.
So that's another problem. So currently there's a law in the parliament up for discussion to kind of start a separate law for honor killing, and hopefully that'll pass soon and things will look better.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I mean, if somebody runs off with my daughter, I'm just like, just as long as you pay for all the stuff she keeps buying on Amazon. I'm just kidding. I don't have a daughter. But if I did, that would probably be the joke I'd use. I wouldn't be wanting to kill you. I'd be like, thanks for taking over the payments. That's really strange. I grew up in religion where, it's very cultish, especially the religion I grew up in. And, you have to get married in the temple and all this kind of silliness and stuff.
Right.
But this is like a whole new level. And, I heard about a lot of this growing up, and you would think in 2022 that we're more modern than we are, but I don't know if you've seen the place lately. We're still stuck in a lot of old world stuff. So you tell the stories, and I imagine you tell the stories of one couple that I believe are gay, or a lesbian couple.
Yes. There's one.
And of course, couple. More and more that's become accepted. People can come out that are gay. They don't have to hide anymore. And so, I can imagine in countries that are still struggling with embracing this, is LGBTQ gay marriage, is that legal in your country at all?
Yeah. So no, it's not legal, but it's decriminalized lately. So with the Indian Penal Code that was drafted with the help of the British colonizers, came an act called Section 377, which essentially outlawed homosexual behavior, but also clubbed homosexual behavior with, pedophilia and, other horrible things. And then, there's been a long timeline of activism around this law, because as the country, liberalized, opened up, a lot of the other laws that were regressive and, kind of like had no space in modern India were updated, changed, struck down. But in 2010, there was a law that was passed that decriminalized homosexual behavior. But then there was a series of other litigations that kind of like penalized that behavior again. And just in 2018, finally, a law was passed to decriminalize homosexuality in India. But that doesn't mean that homosexual people or LGBT people are given equal rights. Absolutely not. It just means that it's no longer a criminal act. Wow. So there's a long fight and a long way to go before there can be equal rights for everybody and every citizen of India.
It's an interesting journey. And one thing I found that was interesting in your book is in India, 2 out of 3 people are under the age of 35. So you have a kind of a dwindling, dying off older class like we do. And you have you have a massive group of people that want to modernize the world.
Right.
So there's probably a lot of battle between the old and new worlds.
Absolutely. But also it's a very, this particular generation is really unique because this is the first generation that's had access to mobile phones, to like all forms of media. And, it's kind of opened up our worlds in a way that has never happened before in India. Our lives were kind of limited to your home, your street, your city at the most. But now suddenly we're able to see what teenagers in South Korea or in the United States are doing. And on one hand, there is this like pull of like modernity, but then there's also this very deep push of modernity, pull either way, the push of tradition. Like we are really deep rooted. We have really internalized, like the concept of filial duty is really huge in Indian society. Like, kind of you want to do well by your parents' expectations. And if you don't, there is a huge personal sort of like feeling of failure if you don't sort of like don't have that duty bound feeling. So recently actually a poll was conducted where they did a bunch of they surveyed a bunch of young people in India and asked them about their attitudes towards love and marriage, and it was astounding because most young people actually said that we actually believe in like marrying in the same caste. We actually believe in, choosing a partner from our own religion, that love marriage is not, arranged marriage is better than love marriage. So, on one hand, you might think that this young people want something else, but it's also true that a lot of young people want to live their lives exactly as their parents lived it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know. It's really interesting to me what's going on in India because, we have a dwindling population and we're on decline. So and you look at what's gone on in Japan,
Yeah,
they're in decline and they have some real gentrification problems. China does as well. And for a long time, it was widely accepted that China would become the new rise of the dominant economic force and marketplace in the future because of their population. But it
right,
looks like almost India probably has a better shot at it because of the younger generation that's
right.
there. And of course,
Yeah,
I'm sure the modernization that they're going to eventually do. Hopefully, they don't fall camp to the same things we did. I mean, when we destroyed the family, we pretty much destroyed everything, and that's what we're finding out now through a whole lifetime of generations. That destroying the family and destroying fathers was the thing that would take apart everything. Now we're just in utter collapse, really, when you look at how we're built. So it'll be interesting to see how you guys go down that path, and
yeah,
having we have a much smaller generation to support the older generation. In fact, one of the problems we're having in our society right now is we were warned for so many years that when the baby boomers retired, our much smaller generations that followed would not be able to support their social security and the power of that. And
right.
now we're really struggling because so many of the people from even my generation, Gen X and boomers with COVID just went, hey, screw it, man, we're out. We're out of the workforce. We're just going to retire early. We're out. And now
Yeah,
we're really finding out how much we're missing those workers and how much it's
right.
affecting our economy, inflation, and it's created mayhem and bedlam over here. So you guys have really, I mean, I think you're one of the few countries that have a future with, a really young populace in mass
Yeah,
that's bigger than the older populace. So it'll be interesting to see
yeah,
how these things play out with marriage and traditionalism and et cetera. And hopefully they don't make
right.
the same mistakes we did.
Yeah, but there's a huge challenge as well about that because we have this massive, it's like it's any economy's dream, right? To have this massive labor force ready to be employed, but we're
Mhm.
also not able to produce jobs at that scale because India kind of jumped from a manufacturing economy to, an agrarian economy to a service economy, essentially missing the manufacturing part.
Wow.
And we just do not have the jobs that can sustain this, kind of huge labor force or like meaningfully employ them. So one of the problems we're dealing with at the moment is one of the highest rates of educated unemployment. So we have hordes of highly educated young Indians that are graduating, trying to enter the workforce, but are not able to find jobs that are meaningful to them or can fulfill their aspirations. So then they will take a gap year, try to like enter the part-time economy or do some temp work. But yeah, so it's not really, we're at the stage at the moment where we have a lot of frustrated aspirations of these young people,
Mhm.
especially, and I think that that's part of why often we'll hear about like in one of the states a train will be set to fire in an active demonstration against just the pathetic levels of unemployment. Recently, there was an ad posted for a railways job. I think there were a few hundred jobs that were advertised, and the millions of young Indians applied for those jobs, and they were very basic level jobs that required, I think, a 10th grade exam certification. But engineers and doctors and highly qualified professionals applied for these jobs because they don't have jobs or places to
Wow.
fulfill their dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So yeah, it'll be really
entrepreneurism a
interesting.
big thing there, or is it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's like a big sort of surge in, entrepreneurial like startups and, like, yeah, absolutely.
yeah. There needs to be like a Silicon Valley over there, sort of type
Yeah.
VC
I think
thing.
there's some form of that coming up in the South, but of
Yeah.
course, not at the same scale.
I mean, the CEO of Google right now, I mean, he grew up on a dirt floor in India. I was
Right,
born on a
exactly.
dirt floor. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
mean, but if you've got to have some mechanisms in society, government, rules, regulations, and people that can loan money, and there's a whole lot of
Exactly.
support
You
that
need to
comes
have a
from the
system
VC
in
side.
place.
Yeah, system in
Yeah,
place.
exactly. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. I mean, when you have that many people and they're that industrious to try and they have that industrialism of youth,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's a good chance of finding it. And of course,
Yeah.
over here we just have a bunch of lazy kids who grew up with silver spoons in their mouth and a phone in their hand, and They just think everything comes through YouTube or something. I don't know, or TikTok. So,
Those two, of course we do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Weak men, strong men create weak or easy times, and easy times create weak men. And
I've
we seem to
read
be in
that
the
somewhere.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we seem to be in the circle of weak men, and now we have to go into hard times to find strong men again. So this is really interesting. I mean, the caste system that's over there. I mean, the combination of languages, so it's hard to escape and move to another state or area in India, I suppose, if you have language barrier issues.
But in most places, Hindi and English are widely spoken. So you can move around, especially in the big cities, no problem. But of course, in like smaller, in the countryside, that might be an issue.
Yeah, they have to worry about people hunting you down. Holy crap.
Yeah,
I mean, if someone stole my kids, I'd be like, have fun with that. They're expensive. Go ahead. Keep them. Like, just be nice to them, and you can keep them, and, all that good stuff. Take them off my hands. I'd like 3. I'd be like, if you change their diapers, you can have them. Just go ahead. Just get them out of my hair. They're crying a lot. I'm just being mean. I don't have kids for the obvious reasons. I don't do diapers. I don't like crying. I have enough of that with people in my life. It's social media. Yeah. I seem to have a quite the following on social media of people crying. Anyway, anything more you want to touch on the book before we go out?
Yeah, my hope is that the people who read this book come away thinking about, what they've had to put at stake for love, and how love can take, various forms in our life. In these stories that I write about, it really dwells in the afterlife of what happens when you attain love. So, you kind of watch these couples live with their grand love being diminished into the ordinariness of daily life. So I just hope people, kind of think that, love can have various meanings. It can mean joy, thrill, also regret, and also like confusion and sadness. And I just hope that it makes them think about their own lives and, make them see the bigger picture.
Yeah. And, it's crazy what people do for love. That's every great love song is about love. I mean, the heart that just cannot be bridled, I guess, when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Well, it's been wonderful having you on the show. Thank you for coming on and sharing your wonderful
Thank you
book
so much
with
for
us.
having me.
There you go.
Thank you so
Order
much.
it up, folks. Wherever fine books are sold, go pre-order the book now. The Newlyweds, Rearranging Marriage in Modern India. Maybe I'll move to India and find a nice young lass. Do they still call him a lass? Am I just old? I don't know. Probably. I use that as a joke, folks. So thanks for coming on the show. Give us your .com so we can find you on the interweb.
Yes. It's mansichoksi.com is my website. You'll also see some of my work. You'll get links to the pre-order. My Twitter is mansi_choksi. Instagram is mansi_choksi. Yeah, I think that's it.
There you go. Order the book, folks. Also, go see everything we're doing on goodreads.com/Chris Voss. The Chris Voss Show on, of course, YouTube as well, and every place else on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.